Hello, everyone. Welcome to History with Hersaphat. I'm your host, Chris, aka Hersaphat. Today, I'll be talking with a couple of friends, Esteban and Nick, about tribalism in today's society. The views shared on this podcast come from ordinary people who live through these events. My hope is that it will give a unique perspective on history. How is everyone this morning, afternoon? Kind of morning, kind of afternoon. How's everyone?
Muy bien, muy bien.
No,
Actually,
is
a
this
little
today?
tired.
Little
I'm tired.
tired. Oh my God. You gonna be all
Not
right?
not as good as I could be.
Not as good as you could be.
I'll be okay. I'm gonna have to take a nap, I guess, later.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I shot in a 3-point contest. I won the first round. I got a girl's number in the process. Then I ran a 5K. Then I did some other chores, and I went back and I lost in the second round. Well, on tiebreakers, I lost in the second round,
Gotcha.
and now I'm here.
Did you get the number while you were shooting threes?
Well, no, actually, I was telling somebody this. I'm like, when I play basketball, I'm just a different person, man. I'm just a different person.
Yeah.
So fearless.
That,
Fearless.
I slept, set my alarm, realized it was going to be a bit later, and slept through it a bit, and then woke up. I was like, oh shit. So I shut off my alarm and then laid there for a second, fell right back to sleep, and then woke up. It was like
Right,
15,
yeah.
20 minutes later, but still, yeah.
It could have been several hours. Yeah.
Right. It could have
Yeah,
been.
no.
It could have been. We're
Yeah.
doing Russia invading Ukraine update. I was actually, if you guys want to take the lead on this one, you guys seem to have more information than I do. I didn't really hear too much into the week, but I guess you were saying, Esteban and Nick, that Ukraine has attacked Russia, or there's been an attack on Russian soil, I should say.
The two things that I know that have happened recently are allegedly the Ukraine had two attack helicopters attack a city in Russian territory this week, blew up like an oil refinery or oil derrick or something like that, and then flew away. So that would be the first time that they've crossed into Russian territory to wreak havoc, which is interesting because you just don't know. It's a lot easier to have good propaganda on your side if you're just defending yourself. The second you go on offense and you start going into their territory, you might start losing that narrative, and you might start actually waking Russians up to saying, okay, well, we got to defend ourselves and do yourself more harm than good. The other thing that I heard too is now Russia is paying Syrian mercenaries like $7,000 to go fight in Ukraine. And Ukraine is paying $10,000 if you surrender, if you're a Russian soldier and you surrender. So if I was a Syrian and I was hard up for some cash, I would sign up to go to Ukraine on behalf of Russia for $7,000. And then I would get there and I would surrender for $10,000. And then I would, I guess, go back to Syria.
Yeah.
$17,000.
So. Yeah. In case anybody's listening from Syria, there's your plan. Go do it.
Yeah. I saw early the other day. I was seeing that Putin was telling European leaders to open up bank accounts in Russia and pay for Russian gas in rubles. And obviously they refused. They're not doing that.
They called his bluff. Yeah, that was big because that would have been bad. That would have been real. If Putin would have decided to not give them oil exports, that would have been really bad.
Yeah.
But they called his bluff, and then he just kept doing what he was doing.
Right.
So far.
It's like, yeah.
Okay, so for future podcasts, we're going to continue with our 10-part series in the year 2002 next week, and I believe we're just going to continue that for the year 2003 and so on and so forth. We will get to the housing market crisis of 2008 at some point. Just going to put that on the back burner for a minute. And for right now, we are finally going to do some 10 questions for Esteban here, so everyone listening can get to know him a little bit better.
I'm super nervous.
Oh, yeah, you better be. So, Esteban, that is your real name.
Legal, yeah. Born with that.
Yes. What
Indeed.
is your favorite sound?
Favorite sound? Opening a bag of Fritos.
Specifically Fritos? or
Yes,
just
the
okay.
plastic
has
is
this-
just a little different.
There's just
Has a
something about
distinct
those.
sound.
Yes, absolutely. What is your least favorite sound?
Oh, Brad was on the money with this. It's babies crying. Yeah, I remember that. I was like, he's so right. That is the worst noise in the world.
What is your favorite word? Any language.
Oh, any language.
Hmm.
I want to do something in Spanish then.
Naturally, your name's Esteban.
What is the word? Muy. I'm trying to think of the word handsome. Guapo. Muy guapo. Guapo is handsome in Spanish.
Okay,
Gotcha.
nice.
Guapo.
What is your least favorite word?
Moist was a good one. Somebody said moist last time. I think that was a good one.
Well, on my years of asking this, almost all females hate that word, moist. It's only
Right.
females.
My least favorite word is misogyny.
Misogyny. What is your favorite curse word?
I don't know if I have a favorite. It's got to be like completely random. Like it's got to be a combination of two things, like dick ass. Like it's got to
Gotcha.
be like a really
Right.
abrupt combination.
Dick bitch. That works.
Yeah, anything.
Used to call people dick bitches all the time.
When like when you stumble over swearing,
Right.
and it comes out as something ridiculous. That's the best swear word.
I think I like ass blasting. I'm not sure why. Ass blasting motherfucker. That's something like that.
Yeah.
If any profession other than the one you're doing right now that you would absolutely love to do.
Secretary of Education. For the
Secretary of
United States
Education.
America. I would fix it all, guys. Remember me.
What profession would you not like to do?
Oh man. What would I not want to be?
Some examples.
I would not want to be Jada Pinkett Smith's husband.
Right. I would not want to have that job. What inspires you? What lifts your spirits? Something that you see.
Yeah.
Do.
I discovered at a young age, probably middle school, early high school, that if I could work with kids, that it didn't feel like work. So that's what I did. And that's what I do. I work with 4-H now to this day because it just doesn't feel like work. You're out there having fun, teaching kids things.
Mm-hmm.
And I get paid to do it. So
what brings you down? What deflates you? Deflates
dumb
your spirit.
parents.
Dumb parents seem to go hand in hand. Yeah. Okay. And
dumb parents that don't care. I should actually
yes.
That don't care.
And last question is: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
What would I want God to say? Man, I don't know. You just made it.
You just made it.
That means I lived a good life. I did it right.
All right. Thank you so much, Esteban. Thank you for filling us in on yourself and letting us get to know you a little bit better. Appreciate it. Yep. All right. And we will move into the podcast now. Our main talk today about tribalism. And we're going to start it off. I'm going to do the launch pad of, so to speak, on an event that happened this past week that everybody was talking about. And I figured, well, I wasn't originally going to have it, but the aftermath of it all gave me, pause. And I decided, well, you know what, it actually would be a good idea. So to start off, in case nobody has any idea what I'm talking about, which seems unlikely, call it the slap heard around the world. At the Oscars this past week, Chris Rock was doing a bit of a set there. He was just a presenter for Best Documentary. And he gets up to the stage and he starts telling his jokes. And he gets to, let's see, Will Smith and Jada Smith are sitting in the front row. And off the cuff, which I don't believe was an actually written, scripted joke, he just said it. He said, you know, he looks over at Jada. He's like, Jada, love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. And there's this groan and laugh mixture in the crowd. Will Smith laughs and he goes on. And he's, oh, that was a nice one. That was an easy one. You know, that was barely anything. And then the next thing you know, you see Will Smith up on stage walking towards Chris Rock. Rock calls him Richard, which is a reference to the character he played that he was up for in Best Actor. And the next thing you know, Will Smith slaps Chris Rock, turns around and walks back, and he seems smirking on his way back. He sits down.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching this, and after I didn't see it live because I don't fucking watch the Oscars, because who the hell watches the Oscars? This was probably the most, you know, viewing worthy of the Oscar anything in the past. I don't know how many years. Nobody gets it's the Oscars.
Probably ever.
Right, maybe ever, right?
Yeah.
But I was thinking that it was as I'm watching this video, though, I'm thinking it's, you know, this is all set up, this is all joke, a gag of some sort. And then I hear Will Smith just scream, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. And then I'm like, wait, did he just really cuss, you know, on TV? Doesn't he? They didn't bleep that? And then
when it happened, it was edited.
Right, but the video that I'm watching was from like, I think Japan or Australia, one of those two. And then he says it again. And at that time, everyone, you can see there's a girl behind Will Smith that she looks like, oh shit, you know, like this is actually going down right now. And he's screaming, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
The
and
whole
Rock's
place went
like,
silent.
Right. And Rock was like, oh my God, okay, it's a G.I. Jane joke, dude. And he's just like, you know, and he's like, I will. I'll keep your wife's name out of my mouth. Oh my! And then you could see Rock's just staring blankly ahead. He doesn't know what to make of it. He's like, man, I could, because he absolutely could. Of all the lines to say about his wife, to Chris Rock,
he could have some really good ones that are way worse.
Exactly.
Which that's exactly what he was thinking. He's like, oh, I could definitely make this way worse than it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I was thinking. He was thinking.
Oh, he absolutely could. He's been in situations where he's been heckled before. We all know that's the case. And
he's a professional comedian.
Yes, he can roast if he wants to.
Right.
So,
oh man.
So he's sitting there. He's like, oh boy, I could. And then he just continues it on. Now, if I was in Chris Rock's shoes, I don't think I would have been able to just sit there, because I'm not a professional the way that he is. Because I would have been like, if you think that's an offensive joke, hear this. And then I don't just go after Jada, which I would then repeatedly go after Jada. I would go after him. I'd go after everybody that I know. The whole fucking thing. The whole Will Smith family. Right. And it's just the worst shit you've ever heard anybody say, you know, because I've been assaulted here and no one seemed to do anything. And,
no security.
No, nothing.
Nothing.
And I was like, I guess I'm on my own here. So I guess, you know, this is the only way I know how to go about it. Anyway.
Right. Well, I want to say something real quick. I mean, you want to talk about privilege. How about walking on stage, attacking a comedian, and then sitting in your chair?
Right.
And then, you know, winning an award after that.
I was just about to get to, so he's during the commercial break and all that shit, you can see he's consoled by other actors and you know, seeing what the hell's going on with him. And it follows it up. I'm pretty sure it was like the next thing. It was Best Actor, and he wins it, and he gets a standing O from in the room. The guy that just assaulted somebody gets a standing O, and then gives a speech. You couldn't write this. You could not write this. If you wrote this in a movie, in a comedy, no one's like, well, that's just so unbelievable. Who the fuck would actually do that? You know?
Right.
And no, he gives a speech about being a vessel for love, even though he just assaulted somebody. And either he doesn't see how ironic that is, or how, well, let's say not even ironic, hypocritical of what the fuck he was just saying and what he just did. Actions speak louder than words. So yeah, the idea that he gave that with almost no thought to, like, well, you know, this actually doesn't compute with what the fuck just happened, but nope, he goes ahead and does it anyway. And they gave him a standing O. He gives a sobbing speech about being a vessel for love. And yeah, that was that, I think, probably as disturbing as the slap, if not more so, because it's just the fact that all these people are just like, oh, yeah, he won Best Actor. They just don't like. I would have been like, fuck that guy, fuck you, Smith. I would have been saying
Right.
something. I wouldn't be clapping
Yeah.
for the prick that just slapped a comedian
Right.
for doing his job.
Yep.
Now I'm gonna get to what parts of the whole thing that really, that pissed me off to an extent, but pissed me off all the
Man, I
same.
was gonna say it sounded like we already got there.
But just well, now I can't think. Oh well, yeah. Well, he gets Chris Rock is doing a bit. He's doing his job, and he gives a joke about G.I. Jane 2, right? And I wouldn't even call it really a joke. I would call it a comparison, because the fallout from this, I guess we get to that now too, is because people settle into camps, tribes immediately after this. You would think this is pretty much 100% Will Smith's in the wrong. There's absolutely no question about it, but go figure, in today's society, the world in which we live, no, people break off into camps, and they break off into, I side with Chris Rock, I side with Will Smith. And instead of it being like, well, he was just completely fucking wrong, it's that, and it shouldn't be, because it's self-evidently not on Chris Rock at all, at all. This is completely, Will Smith's completely in the wrong here in every capacity that you could be in the wrong. Chris Rock is doing his job, right? He gives a comparison to what Jada Smith's haircut is to a movie in the late 90s, a shitty late 90s movie called G.I. Jane.
Right.
Now
That's
you
not
could
shitty.
make,
I think it probably was in the hunt for Oscars that year.
yeah, there's a lot of movies that are, well, my personal opinion on the movie is it's not that good.
But it also it is a dig. It's a deeper dig than I think you think it is, because it's more than about just the haircut of Demi Moore and Jada Pinkett Smith. Jada Pinkett Smith has been called a militant feminist before. And if there's a movie that depicts a militant feminist literally, it would be G.I. Jane. So it goes deeper than I think you think.
That's possible. I've not heard that. That's the first time I've heard any of that. My understanding was that, yeah, it's a haircut joke. If you even call it a joke, it's just comparing her hair. You could have compared it to fucking Kojak or Lex Luthor, or even more relevant, V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta 2. But it's much easier to say G.I. Jane 2. It just rolls on the tongue easier than V for Vendetta. But like the people say, well, she has alopecia. He's making fun of alopecia. He's not making fun of alopecia. What alopecia joke is that? That's a haircut joke. That's a bald joke. At what point is he alopecia even mentioned or suggested or inferred?
Right.
At no point. At no point. It's a haircut joke. Now it may have something to do with what Esteban is saying, but again, that's not alopecia joke. That's what do you call it? Something feminist. They can't, not radical feminist. You say, I don't know what we call her.
Militant
feminist. Militant. Yeah. Could be something like that. Not alopecia. So, and that's part of the thing, is that at first, people settle into these camps. Well, Will Smith's attacking or protecting his wife, by hitting Rock. He's protecting his wife, and I'm just curious so people settle into these camps, one with Rock, one with Smith. Nick, thoughts on people settling to tribes into this regard, in the way that they did it for this instance? We can get into that as well. But yeah, if you want to go ahead.
Well, I also believe that Will Smith was in the wrong, but also at the same time, I think that to be more fair, I guess, to like on the outside looking in, I'd say that Chris Rock and Will Smith are both victims. Chris Rock, obviously, of assault and battery, but Will Smith also of his wife, basically. The thing that's going on there. You can tell. I mean, he was laughing at the joke, but then as soon as he saw Jada being upset, suddenly now he has to do something. So there's a whole lot of other stuff going on there. But he's definitely a victim of whatever's going on there. Of course, it doesn't give him the right to hurt people, but I'm just saying that I can at least see a little bit on both sides. But I'm not saying that he was right on hitting him
Sure.
at all. I'm just saying that Will Smith is most certainly a victim, and there's a lot of shit going on in his life that may have caused him to do something so ridiculous and so
Yeah.
crazy. Again, not justifying the hit at all. But again, Chris Rock, obviously a victim of assault and battery. Um, I
All
thought
right.
it was a very light joke.
Right.
I thought it was a pretty good joke, actually. I thought it was a little funny.
Mhm.
It just it's almost like it. So I was saying this the other day, actually, to some coworkers of mine that these people have such a major influence to like our youth and other people like that in our culture. We look up to celebrities. So for them to do something like this, it's almost like a green light to say, hey, if someone says something that you don't agree with or tells a joke that you think is offensive, well, you have the right now to go up to them and slap them in the face.
Mhm.
And it's really fucked up. And I think that they should take some goddamn responsibility with the influence that they have. It's
Yeah.
unreal, dude. It's unreal. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Esteban.
Yeah, I think Nick hit the nail on the head there at the end with the amount of influence that Hollywood has had for my entire life. Actors are and have always been sort of in a class of their own. And for the most part have been pushing, well, lately at least, it seems like pushing some agendas that are a lot more liberal leaning than they are conservative leaning, to be fair. But they definitely think they are operating from a morally superior position, and that they are correct, and that the rest of us are heathens, and we need to listen to them. This same show, there was other conversations about that Florida bill. They're calling it the "Don't Say Gay" bill, and telling us what we should believe or think about that. Let the voters in Florida decide. What is Hollywood? It's about literally as far away in this country as you can get from that decision. And there's other examples too, where they're talking about different issues. And it's like, for them to do that every moment that they win an award, to go on like this tangent about what they believe is right and ethical. And then in the same vein, it seems like every damn year there to be some sort of incident where they do something stupid. Somebody does something stupid. They can't do a 2.5-hour show without an incident that makes them look dumb. Why are we listening to these people? Why is anybody listening to these people? Go entertain me, win your award, thank the people that you work with, and then sit the fuck down. Like, you're not better than us. You're not better than anybody that I work with, anybody that anybody else works. You're not.
Yeah.
There could be an argument made that they're actually considerably worse.
Yeah.
You could make that argument, and there's some justification.
Absolutely.
I've been made fun of. I've been belittled. I've been ridiculed, and I have yet to go upset and slap somebody for it. Usually, I'll make fun of them back, or I'll say something back. That's pretty much the gist of it. That's, I mean, if they're gonna attack me with words, I'll attack you with words back. If they throw a punch at me, then now I'm defending myself in that regard. But I don't take it upon myself to physically assault somebody because I'm upset by what they said, or actually more, my significant other's upset with what they said, so I have to double down, because then I'll really look weak if I don't do anything. But why does
I want to say one more piece too, because Nick was right about this too, and I don't think enough people are talking about it. Is Will Smith is a victim in this as well, and I believe that there was a quote by Dave Chappelle, not about this incident. This is from years ago. He was actually talking about his friend Martin Lawrence, I think, in this quote, but it applies to Will Smith here, in that he was doing like a movie shoot with Martin, and something was going on, and Martin lashed out, and some of the crew were calling him crazy and like wanted him removed from the show. And Dave Chappelle is good friends with him and was like, listen, people are strong. Human beings are strong, resilient people. They don't just go crazy for no reason. If they are acting that way, it's because of the environment they're in, and that it's probably a sick environment, and they're not doing well in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And Hollywood, I think, is that for Will Smith. It's just a sick environment.
Yeah, right. I can totally say that would be in line with what we saw.
Calling people crazy is dismissive. It's just brushing the actual problems under the carpet, just like we do with mental health now. Anybody that does anything weird, we're like, well, mental health, it's a mental health issue. Okay, well, that's just dismissive. You're just brushing it off.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So why
not getting to the core? I'm sorry, continue.
No, it's all right. Sorry. Why does society break off into these groups? Why do we separate in this way? Is it simply just ingrained with us, and that's just what we always have done? Is there any hope for us to move beyond this point where we just settle into these tribes and we do this tribalism where it doesn't matter what the situation is, doesn't matter how clearly something could be, where one person, well, that's clearly they're in the wrong there, but we still manage to break off into these sects, these groups, and not only that, anybody that disagrees gets cast out of said group within a moment, not even a hesitation. You're gone. Is there anything we can do about this, Nick?
I don't think so. I think that we're stuck with it because of the way that human nature basically is. Like our primal instincts. I mean, we've been doing this very similar thing in other ways ever since our genesis. So. Yeah,
since
I
Adam
don't
and
think
Eve.
it's not that. No, since our beginning, since our for over 250,000 years now, we've been doing very similar things, and it's just it hasn't really changed. It's just become more modern, obviously. So yeah, I don't think there's any way out of it really.
Esteban?
Until we evolve, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's two-pronged. This particular example is sort of two-pronged. Number one, at a fundamental level, human beings want to belong somewhere. They need to belong somewhere. You don't want to be on your own. Most people do not want to be on their own. And I talk about this a lot when I talk to kids. It's like, if we're gonna do 4-H programming, I work with the 4-H program, we want it to be a positive experience. So we want them to belong to something positive. But there's plenty of negative experiences too for youth to belong to, and it doesn't change for adults either. They're going to belong somewhere. You would rather it be a good place than a bad place, and that's just where everybody operates all the time with wherever they are. And in Will Smith's case here, we're talking about he was doing what he thought he was supposed to do, and then you start asking yourself, well, why did he think that? I think society has taught men, and still does, that it is, you need to defend your woman's honor, right? It's nobody should treat, if you're going to marry your wife, or obviously if you're going to get married, you need to defend your wife and your wife's honor. And that's an old school mentality. It's something we still teach, though. It's part of a double standard that kind of goes all over the place. But I would offer the question to Will. I'd be afraid he'd hit me. The question I would ask is Jada Smith worth protecting?
In this
I don't
way,
think she is. Right. There was a time and place where, you would get in a duel if somebody insulted your woman, and you would shoot to the death, and that would settle it. But we were also dealing with women that were, not sleeping with your son's best friend and talking about it openly on YouTube. Right. Or belittling you in public all the fucking time. Though one would argue that maybe they were a little bit more worth protecting 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Nowadays, I don't know. Jada Pinkett Smith should have went up there and smacked Chris Rock herself if she really wanted to.
Right.
That's what I was going to get to.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
So So that's part of what I noticed as well. And I believe Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he wrote a piece on the whole thing. He pointed that out as well, that it's been a thing in the past, 20 years, where women don't need a man's help. They don't need men to do things for them. They can do it themselves. Anything a man can do, a woman can do as well, except apparently when it comes to protecting your own honor. So she gets, made fun of, so to speak, I guess. And instead of handling it herself, because she doesn't need a man, she gets a man to handle it for her, and he physically assaults somebody. So then it comes across where it's like this poor, weak little woman needs this big, strong man to come help her out because she can't do it herself, which flies in the face of apparently her militant feminism. Maybe she got, kicked out of the academy. I don't know. But yeah, it does not compute. It doesn't make sense. You can't square that circle. You either are or you're not. If someone's coming at you, I don't need you to do that. I can handle it myself. Or no, I need the big man, strong man to go do it because I actually can't do it myself.
All right. Well, let me throw this in here then. What if it wasn't Chris Rock? What if it was a female comedian?
Amy Schumer. She was there.
Right. Female comedian gets up, says the same joke. Right? Let's just say that. Says the same joke, theoretically. Will Smith gets up, slaps her. How do you think that would be perceived? How do you think that they would perceive that? Like,
I actually think he does get arrested then, and I don't think he stays in the show. Right.
Kicked out, arrested. Removed.
I don't think Will Smith even bothers to get on stage if that happens. And I think the same thing. Right. It's not Chris Rock and it's Jason Momoa or The Rock.
Right. Well, Jason Momoa really would.
Yeah, he's not going to get up there and slap The Rock.
Right.
He'll slap Chris Rock.
Sure. Or Joe Rogan. Like, say Joe Rogan's up there. He's like, he's a comedian.
Yeah.
Sticking with the Amy Schumer example, I'm a cynic, and I'm just going to say, like, if he went up and smacked Amy Schumer, everyone's heads would have exploded because they would have been like, well, but he's a black guy, but she's a woman, but he's a black guy. Right. She's a woman. What do I do here? What do I do?
Who do I defend?
Yeah. Who do I virtual signal?
I think that would be maybe like a minute. They'd do that, but then they'd ultimately side with Amy Schumer.
Here's another thing. I'll stir this pot even more. I might even dump the pot over. Let's say it's oh God, I can't think of her of the name. Let's say it's a trans comedian, and they make a joke.
Okay.
And it's
like Eddie Izzard.
Yeah, you could do like Eddie Izzard. Yeah, you do Eddie Izzard. Let's say it's Eddie Izzard, and I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Eddie Izzard fucking doing
God,
that'd be great.
They go off on Will, but if let's say Will Smith slaps Eddie Izzard, what happens then?
Dude.
No, but their heads would explode. They wouldn't know which person to virtual signal, who to fight for, who to stand for. No idea. Idea.
If it was just not Will Smith, if that's the thing, I want to just say this to any guy that's listening. If this situation happens, and so anything close to the situation happens to you where you feel compelled to do something like this, your only option, your only safe option, if you have anything to lose at all, is to just walk away, get out of there. That's it. Do not do what Will Smith did. Do not sit there and try to make sense of it with your wife. Just get out of there. Just leave.
Right. Because in real life, you'll be arrested.
Right.
You'll have all those charges. You have to get a lawyer. You'll have to spend time in jail. You have to spend a lot of money on all of this stuff. You'll probably have to do anger management classes. You'll probably be on probation for a long time. Just
prison
because
is
of
full of guys who are defending their wife's honor. I'm putting up
right.
It's full of guys that were doing that. The women will start fights, and you'll be the one that has to finish them, and then potentially lose everything.
Yeah.
Right. This is sort of like the idea of thinking of it as like a hero, the heroic, but I don't think it's that brave, and I don't think it's that heroic when a guy protects his woman, which sounds like it's his property. There's just so much backwards thinking that it's only thought of, like, it's only viewed in a positive light when it goes with something that with people that agree in this sort of fashion. So yeah, like
romanticized.
it's romanticized in a way.
It's
Yeah.
almost romanticized in a way to where, like, you know, they don't really think about it. They think about that moment, that instance, and what would I do, and how would I react or whatnot. But when it actually comes down to it, and they really got to hurt somebody, I mean, that's a whole different world. That's a whole different thing you got going there.
Well, I
now
think
you gotta
like,
feel.
well, that's what I say.
Yeah.
There are guys out there that would jump at the chance to quote unquote defend their woman.
I wanted to say
but
that
when they actually,
but that's not actually defending their woman. They're not doing anything of the sort. They're belittling them.
There's a correct way to do this.
Right.
And I do want to, I want to just share with anybody listening too, the correct way to do this as a man in this situation, right, is when that joke happens, do not go on stage, wait until intermission, talk to Chris Rock about it. Or in this case, what it would have been even better is if you're going to win an award, possibly use that 10 minutes that you would normally use, you know, grandstanding, virtue signaling some cause that you don't know a lot about. Instead, talk about how that joke that Chris Rock said you didn't appreciate, right? Just mention that during your acceptance speech that, you know, and then everyone's on your side still, and you still addressed it. And
you're still a member of the Academy.
You haven't defended your wife's honor, but you definitely stood up for her.
Right. It's
the correct way. That would have been the correct way to do it.
That's the brave way. That's the honorable way. That's the strength. That's the strong way to do it. There's nothing weaker. There's nothing that looks weaker than a guy who walks up to another person, another guy who doesn't even think that he's even going to be hit or anything close. His hands are behind his back, and he slaps him. He slaps him, and he turns his back on him. Like, that's the bitch move. That's a bitch move. And there's nothing weaker than that. You look like a fucking pansy when you do shit like that. That's a bitch move from a bitch, because he's being treated like a bitch. Which I'm sure something to do with home life. But yeah, that's a bitch move. All right, we're gonna move on with on social media, the lovely social media. Everyone has a voice, so everyone gives their opinion on the matter. However, if their opinion differs from their tribe, they quickly scale back and get in line for fear of ostracization. I've seen this happen. I've seen people who otherwise have, you know, no problems at all. Something happens. People in a social media group or whatever it is are talking about it. There's actually a situation just this past week that I saw on an app, you know, and everyone's talking. Everyone has pretty much the same awful opinion, but it's their opinion, you know, and it's just one given after another. And then eventually someone finally chimes in with a dissenting opinion. And that person is immediately hit with a, let's keep it civil. Hello, come on now. Let's not get all bent out of shape. Even though prior to this 10, 15, 20 minutes of just straight comment after comment from a number of different people, all saying horrendous shit, completely missing the point, completely just jumping on some train that doesn't even exist.
Right. But once someone questions it,
it became too much. Now they're now they hold on, let's keep it civil. And so that person realizes, well, fuck, I'm outnumbered. No one's even remotely on my side. So they act as if one would when you're completely
it's funny
surrounded.
Because that's when they move to another group. That's the exact opposite, right? And when someone questions something from that group, that's the same thing.
Same thing. So they're out now, and that person is banned. That person was banned within minutes of speaking their mind, simply saying, "I disagree with this. This is crazy talk." Or what did he say? I find your viewpoints abhorrent, and it ended up being like, "Oh, you know, we're all here to have a conversation. You're here just to argue." Well, I mean, you can't basically, you know, scream that at people.
What do you do? You're just basically patting each other on the back.
Exactly. You know? It's not a conversation at all.
At that point,
that's not. Yeah. So I mean, what they're doing isn't a conversation at all.
Like, I think this happens. I agree. Well, I do too. Sounds good.
Wait a second. Isn't that? Hold on. Let's keep it civil. Let's keep it civil. I don't think let's hold on. Don't get crazy. Let's keep it civil. Right. And I was just I felt bad for that person. I started laughing, and then I felt bad again. But yeah, so he got booted, and it comes out later that even Will Smith, which is what they were talking about, apologized for his behavior, apologized to Chris Rock, and said he was in the wrong. and all the people that were saying that he was in the right and that he did what he should have done. That he, if you make fun of somebody with the disease, you deserve to get made fun of, which isn't what happened. And they give out hypotheticals like, if you best believe that if someone, is making fun of my kid who's got, I don't know, some sort of disease, I'm going to come at. That's not what happened. You best believe that if my wife is suffering from this, I'm going to go defend him. And that's not what happened. But thank you for bringing that up. And just repeatedly saying like the same thing over and over again. Finally, someone says, when the fuck is it? Why is it assault? And they're just like, nope, hold on. Let's keep it civil here. And then they bind him. And then the thing that really ticked me off, the thing that probably is the worst thing about it, is that after all that, and Will Smith comes out and says he's wrong. I'm in the wrong here. I should not have done that. Not a single thing is posted. Not a single thing is said about how they were wrong for saying that Will was in the right. That even Will Smith disagrees with them. They don't say a word. They don't say a word. They just leave it blank. Even people that I know that they've put up there as like, people that they really admire in Hollywood or music or anything of the sort have come out against Will Smith. Don't say anything about that either. Don't care. And all of a sudden the conversation's over and they move on to something else without even apologizing for, being wrong. It's okay to admit you're wrong.
Well, no, yeah, exactly. They don't acknowledge it.
It's just complete ignoring everything that they did. And that was freaky because it's an echo chamber. It's like the server or whatever it's called current events, but it should be an echo chamber of current events because that's all it is.
Right.
That's all it is. And I mean, if that's what they want, that's what they want. But God, that's a horrible way to live. That's a horrible way to be. You don't learn anything.
It's like it's very similar to like when someone on the far left goes on Fox News, and there's like two conservatives and then him or her on the left side just arguing about something, and of course it's just as soon as the leftist starts bringing something up, they try to change the subject, they interrupt, so that way they can't keep talking. It's very similar to that, to where they just kind of bring them on to just try and humiliate them,
just shout them down
to make their viewers go, oh well, I guess liberals don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And it's the same thing on the other stations as well, but Fox News does it in a certain way that just has a little bit more pizzazz, I guess.
Ooh. Yeah. Esteban, thoughts?
Oh, I just keep thinking about my own experience in the last week on Reddit, which was I posted on books, the subreddit books. There's like millions of people in it, right? I just posted a list of 51 books every man should read before they die. That was the title. 51 books every man should read before they die. And then all there was 51 books that I recommended, many of which I don't think anybody would think, oh man, this is blatantly misogynist, right? This is like To Kill a Mockingbird was on there. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy's on there. Jurassic Park's on there. Yeah. Those were some examples. Little Book of Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. None of these are specifically like men's books, right? But I think that they're books that every guy should read. Well, anyway, I was banned. I was removed. It was sexist that I even posted a list like that. You cannot post a list that's just for men anymore. You can't do it.
What about, you can't do 51 books for women?
No, you can. You'll probably be praised for it.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Well, the hypocrisy in that is
exactly.
So I reposted it to a separate site, which had many, many less people in the subreddit, but still, at least it was able to stay up.
Yeah,
still, half the comments I received were that this was misogyny and that I was, the blatant sexism of this list. Besides that, men should be, again, it was kind of like your argument, Chris. Men should be opening themselves up to different points of view, and none of these books are talking about trans men or black men or all. And I'm like, well, it's just men, man. It's just a list for 50. It's just 51 books. And like my entire experience with it was just like, this has nothing to do with women. This has nothing to do. This isn't sexist. It just has nothing to do with them.
All right. So if you had titled it completely different, would they have come to the same conclusions? This entire list is sexist. This entire, I wonder. So if you title
If it would have been 51 books that everyone should read before they die, I would have changed the list, because I do think that I would pick different books for men that I would pick for women to suggest.
That's true.
Right.
It's like 51 books to read to your dog. Like, hold on, this list is completely fucking
and
sexist.
Listen,
racist.
I understand that there are women that will like a lot of the same books that I have on that list, and that's fine. I do believe, though, that the large majority of women do have some specific interests that are different than the large majority of men. So there is certainly overlap, and there are people that would love every one of those books that are both men and women. They would love every one of them, but that's not always the case. So anyway, I just take that up with, getting banned for posting a list for men seemed really, it opened my eyes a bit about the echo chamber that we, are surrounded by all the time. There's just layers and layers of it around us that we don't even realize.
Yep.
I don't understand the desire to be in an echo chamber. See, here's an issue that I have. It seems that people have a problem when somebody disagrees with them or has an opinion that differs from them. Now, I've found in my life, those people are invaluable to you. They teach you things you would otherwise not learn if you only stay within the group that thinks like you, that talks like you, that acts like you. Then you will only know one way. And the world is so much bigger than that. You cannot stay in a little box on the hillside, ticky-tacky.
Right. That's why I always say, to people like, I know you have your opinion, but can you make an argument against yourself?
Right.
Can you argue with your own opinions? Can you come up with a good point that goes against your own opinions? I think that's really important.
That's a good exercise to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
tell you what, James Boyd can't do that.
Oh, well, no. No, he probably wouldn't.
Completely incapable.
I do want to go back to the book list thing too, is that there were several people that said that men need to hear more of the feminine perspective when it comes to things, and I just disagree wholeheartedly. I mean, I don't know what it was like for you. I don't know what it's like for any of our listeners, but my entire elementary school experience, middle school experience, I didn't have a single male teacher. I had two sisters and a mother. My dad worked late, never really saw him, didn't see him hardly ever, maybe once a week, if I was lucky. So I didn't have any male influences in my life really until high school. And I had maybe 2 or 3 male teachers at that time. One was a football coach. So we're talking maybe 4 men before the age of 18 that were around that could teach me things about male related issues. Yeah, I think I got enough of the feminine perspectives. And, only recently have started to really kind of embrace, some masculine perspectives. So I think anybody who says, oh, you're a man, you need to hear more about this feminine side or your emotional side or whatever, get all these other perspectives. No, I don't know. I think you need men today, especially, we know testosterone levels are lower than they've ever been. 30% of men in college have never been on a date before. That's the highest that's ever been.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think it's 40 or 50% of men under 30 have never had sex before.
What?
So, yeah, it's getting higher all the time.
Oh my God, I can't believe that.
So I think maybe a little bit more of a masculine perspective would be a nice change of pace, I guess, is my.
So it's interesting of all this talk I've been seeing with the Zelensky, women are just fawning over him. Who's the most, he's doing some pretty, what they would call standard or basic or manly things, you might say. And women seem to still like that. So you've gone too far in one way, whatever it may be. If you go too far in any direction, sooner or later, the exact opposite of that will become more appealing. And it'll only grow by the day. And so if you push this, which is not to say that you shouldn't, there aren't good, lessons to be learned or things to understand in understanding, a feminine side of things. It's not saying that you shouldn't have a feminine, you know, I don't know what you call it, ideologies. There's just things you shouldn't not learn about these things. You should, but it shouldn't be the only thing you learn. You should also, embrace, masculinity.
Well, the feminine message is the same one that's telling you when somebody insults you, or insults your wife, you need to go up there and assault them. No, that's the wrong message.
That's a toxic masculinity,
well,
I would say.
Well, I was going to say, while simultaneously talking about toxic masculinity.
Right. That's toxic masculinity, which they, the group that I know of, a few of them, talk about it a lot, and are completely against toxic masculinity, except when it goes with somebody they like. Then they're okay with it, and then they don't even bother to even bring it up.
Well, when the bombs start falling, toxic masculinity is all of a sudden a good thing. So that's what you need.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right. No,
go out there
you're
and
right.
fight. We'll get on the train and we'll take the
Right.
kids and see you later.
Right.
Why don't we just call it masculinity because we know what it is.
I was also going to say, just to add one last little thing to that, the Discord channel thing that I was a part of. At the end, somebody put, "I just want to thank everyone for having such a safe space for everyone, so we don't have to deal with nasty people." And I'm just like, Jesus. You guys are all fucking insane, all of you. It's
you said this to them?
No, this is in my head. Had I said that, I would have been banned.
Man, you should have.
No, it's too much fun. It's way too much fun. To watch. It's like a.
Well, yeah, sure.
A social experiment.
Yeah.
I'm watching the echo chamber.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
It's way too much fun.
Yeah.
You never know what the fuck they're gonna say next, and they don't seem to understand when they're being hypocritical, or even acknowledge it. It's amazing to see.
I tell you,
heartbreaking.
Tumblr was a lot like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever used Tumblr, but my God, that was an echo chamber for the social justice warriors. If you're not familiar with the SJWs, but they're the people that are very PC, politically correct. All that really kind of came back around into the culture.
Oh, that's
around early 2010s or something like that. Started to really get deep into that. And man, Tumblr was a huge echo chamber for that shit. And man, it just took off. It took off.
If you're anywhere that has safe spaces, whether virtual or in real life,
right.
I personally probably would stay away from those places.
Right.
I would take that. You remember what I mentioned earlier? Just walk away, get out of there. That's what I would do.
Right. I could definitely consider it an unsafe space.
For me personally, it would be, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really see a value in safe spaces. The world isn't a safe space. Why the fuck would you, Right. It just seems like you're handicapping yourself for under the guise of security. Which they're you're not really getting. You're better off thinking for yourself and coming to your own conclusions than to just getting in your own tribe and going off of that. It's and there's a lot of things which is really interesting, as you brought up the social justice warriors and PC stuff like that. Back in the late 80s, there was an attack on free speech for like musicians, albums. So where we get the parental advisory sticker from. There's a council headed by Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, and a few other people, to ban CDs that they found unacceptable. We don't want kids listening to this music. We don't want people hearing this language.
Right.
This is PC. And that kind of just has snowballed into more and more ways of being PC.
Right.
And some things are, probably shouldn't be saying these words. You shouldn't be doing this. It's evolving our way of thinking. There's good things to a lot, but you can't take it too far, because if you take it too far, anything in the opposite direction is going to become more appealing.
And
then you become an inversion of what you were trying to prevent. And eventually you become the thing that everyone else wants to, cancel.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think that there are some really good ideas and different ways that we can change our thinking, different words we can use to, for descriptions and whatnot, from the social justice point of view. Although when it goes too far is when it becomes a law, and it's a lot like when I talk about like religion as well. When religious ideas of any kind become law of that country, it's incredibly dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Incredibly dangerous.
Oh yeah.
And so it's the same thing with the social justice warriors and like the whole PC community. Any of this stuff starts becoming law, it can be very dangerous, especially for free speech. I mean, how many words can you ban? How many words are you going to start banning now? Like this,
And
what
who
is this,
decides?
1984,
Right,
like
right.
is 1 + 1 3 now? Like what's happening?
God, I can't remember what he calls it in that book. False speech or something like that. Can't remember.
Right.
But it's essentially that,
Yeah.
up is down, down is up, war is
Right.
peace,
Right.
it's that sort of thing. It's now a lot of people make the comparison and think immediately 1984 is a dystopian world. It's not that. It's got elements of it, and that's what
It
it is.
has
It's the
elements
elements
of
of
it,
it.
right.
It's the elements of it.
It has the potential to be in maybe
And that
100
potential
years,
would be exactly 100
if it's
years.
snowballed.
If
it's
exactly,
snowballed.
exactly.
Yeah.
Some people say like, oh, it's 1984. People think, oh, that's next week. Fuck, we better do something by next Tuesday.
Right, oh, that's next week. Yeah,
We're gonna
That's
have
so
a
funny.
dystopian world. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It can be some scary
the
stuff.
elements peeking their heads out is scary enough.
It's also interesting.
I was going to say a lot of it is this like victim mindset, right? Of like, I need this safe space because there are people out there who are going to discriminate me or hate me based on X, Y, and Z. And I would push back. My counter would be always, regardless of who you are, if you have all of your limbs, if you have a normal functioning brain and you live in the United States, you've been handed the keys to a Ferrari.
Yeah.
You just need to learn how to drive it. You just need to learn how to drive it.
Right.
Because you have the keys. Just take care of it, and I don't think people they don't realize that. Maybe they don't leave this country. They don't look around.
Yep.
But that is the case. If you have all your limbs, your brain's functioning, and you're in this country and you're a citizen, if you just learn how to drive the Ferrari, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Just learn to drive the Ferrari.
Easy on the gas, but you'll be all right.
For sure. Yeah. For sure.
It's funny because back in the day, it was the right-wing parties, the Republicans, that were trying to get people canceled, because it used to be the left was the free thinking, open, sex all the time, drugs, sex,
low morality,
all that stuff,
that sort of thing.
And the right's religious sect, which is basically their entire voting base, was trying to get all that shit taken away and canceled. It's really funny that it's and I quote unquote funny that it's now the left taking that mantle for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And now anything that anybody else says is now potentially canceled or worse. But this tribalism that we have, where it doesn't matter who's on what side, someone's on a side. It's really disheartening, because it could be so much more than what we are right now. And it just feels like, I think social media in a way is greatly enhanced our lives and greatly hindered our lives.
Sure.
And our ability to communicate with one another is almost non-existent now. Younger generations can't even have conversations with one another. They can't even go out in fucking public. They can't do anything. They're just perpetually terrified and anxiety ridden to do anything. And that like going to a store is a big deal. And to them it is, because they're so twisted in their ways that they can't even function normally. And I really think being glued to a computer screen or a phone screen all day, and the only people are people online that you don't actually fucking know, doesn't help you out and actually hurts you a great deal. I think in a way that exercise is a necessary thing to, if you want to keep yourself healthy. I think time away from computers, time away from TV screens and stuff like that, and actually being in some sort of like a social environment Where people that are introverts, sure, you go there, you don't have to, necessarily join in, but you just got to be around other people. And you have to have an open mind. Being around other people and having an open mind, and you will find that it's not as terrible as you think it's going to be. More often than not, our own fears prevent us from doing things like that. And it's almost never as bad as we think it's going to be. You just have to try. You have to put yourself out there. Go on.
No, I would just add that people should have an open mind. And I've heard people say this to me. To me, they said, you should have more of an open mind. And like, I remember, like, it was like about like ghosts or something. Like, do you believe in ghosts? And I was like, no. I mean, it seems unlikely that ghosts are real.
Right.
And they said, well, you should be more open-minded. And I told them that being open-minded is good, but not so open-minded that your brains fall out. So I would just add that.
There's, I'd say open-minded. What I was thinking really there was open-mindedness, and just that going out and socializing to other people isn't the end of the world. Now, if you want to talk about the paranormal, that's a whole another thing. That's a what do you call it?
I was just giving an example
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a whole can of worms.
I like your quote, Nick. I thought it was good.
Yeah. Right.
No, I just the amount I could say on the I've also been in your shoes there, Nick, where someone's been like, we're gonna do this ghost, go ghost hunting, and I was like, you're gonna do what? We're gonna go to the cemetery and ghost hunt. You're gonna go to the cemetery in the middle of the night and run around. This is what you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna see if we can find ghosts. You're not gonna find any. You're just gonna go to a cemetery and run around. How far away is it? An hour and a half. You're gonna drive an hour and a half to go run around at night in the cemetery. You want me to come along? This is madness, And it's that sort of shit. You just have to have a more open mind. Well, give me the science on that. Show me if you can use the Socratic method to show me that ghosts exist. I'll be on board with you. But you can't, so we're not going to even have this conversation.
In general, just a little bit more levity. Just have when somebody cracks a joke at your expense, laugh.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just that's all it is. We don't need to be walking around worried about what's going to happen to us every 24/7. I might get abducted or I might get assaulted. No.
Right.
Just live your life, enjoy it. It's.
Right.
I joke a little bit what dating is like after like 35 years old. Really all it comes down to is, for a guy at least, be funny, feed them, and sleep with them. And that's it. That's all you got to do.
That's it.
Don't overthink it. It's not too complicated.
Right.
Be funny, feed them, sleep with them.
Boom, boom. Trifecta. All right. Well, with that, I'll
tell you what, man, that's really offensive. I don't.
If I was there, I'd slap you right now. And you
Richard.
keep. Oh, that's another thing. Yeah, he also said in his speech that he was just like Richard Williams, or whatever. But what a psycho!
Oh, fucking insane!
What a psycho! Dude. I mean, what the fuck, man? Like, imagine Daniel Day-Lewis, showing up to the Oscars as
right.
What's his name?
Bill the Butcher?
From There Will Be Blood. What's the fucking name? What the fuck is his name?
I don't remember. It was it was Daniel. It's Daniel Plainfield.
Plainfield. Yeah,
Daniel Plainfield.
He's like, can you imagine that? And he's like, one of these days I'm gonna show up in the room and I'm going to slit your throat. Sorry, thank you for the best Oscar. I'm a vessel of love.
Right.
I'm a vessel of love. And this is my son, HW. And I'm going to drink your milkshake. And I'm going to give you $1,300.
Milkshake.
Yeah. Thank you. Vessel for love. But seriously, I will slit your throat. And
seriously, I will bury you in the ground, Eli.
Thanks, Daniel. Get this fucking psycho out of here. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine that? Yeah, just ridiculous, narcissistic asshole that needs help because clearly shit's not right at home. His kids need help too.
Yeah.
The whole family, they should have like the Simpsons back in the day. They had shock therapy.
That's
They
the
need
thing.
extensive
They're
shock
doing
therapy.
therapy on. Apparently, they're doing therapy on TV.
Don't that again? That's not their. Oh God. That's a sickness. That
I'm not
yeah.
even kidding you. Like that's
I
what
know.
that apparently.
Yeah.
I didn't know this, but apparently that's been going on, and that's how
Jesus
everyone knows all
H
these
Christ.
information about them. So they're. I don't know
It's
about you, but if I was in a therapy session, I would never be putting it on TV.
right.
Like no one would know about it except for me and
The
the
therapist.
therapist. Yeah.
Right. If you put all that
There'd be a
information
reason
out
I'd be
there,
in therapy.
you've got to expect blowback. You're going to have to
Right.
expect jokes
Yeah.
made at your expense.
Right.
Absolutely. That's even less of a reason to be upset. Holy shit. I didn't know they did that.
No, I mean, yeah,
Fucking
you
stupid.
can watch it. She literally says, like, hey, I slept with August, which was her son's friend, because I wasn't getting from you what I wanted. And he's just
Wow.
like, oh, okay, well, tell me more. No, Will, if some or anybody, if you're married and your wife says, hey, I slept with our son's friend because I wasn't getting what I wanted, you leave, you file for a divorce.
Right.
Right.
I believe they call
That's
it
the end of it.
infidelity. They have a term for that.
Right.
That's you were not, you
Right.
did not fulfill the marriage contract and vows.
Unless you're Mormon, you could be polygamous. You could be Mormon and polygamous.
We took vows, remember? You remember that? That was important to me.
Right. Wait,
Right.
unless their vows were, I'm absolutely going to sleep with other people if you don't satisfy me. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I just
maybe
want to
she
put that
held
in my
them
vow.
up in that case.
True.
Yeah,
I don't
that
remember
was-
what their vows were specifically. but
Maybe
true,
their
she
vows
did.
were. If I shave my head,
Right.
you have to go slap the person that makes fun of.
Right.
You know,
must
that's part of the
slap
vow.
it.
Right. All right, guys. I think I'm going to do
Especially if it's Chris Rock.
my final thoughts here. Tribalism is ingrained within us, but it doesn't have to define us the way it does nowadays. We can evolve beyond where we are. Evolution didn't stop with our forward-facing eyeballs and opposable thumbs. It's an ongoing process. If we don't evolve our way of thinking, then we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes and have the same pitfalls and setbacks you get with tribalism. My hope is that we'll eventually see the error of our ways and move forward for once in unison. That this will be a place of acceptance and togetherness. And if you don't subscribe to that ideology, you can get the hell out. And with that, I hope you enjoyed our conversation and will join us again for another installment of History with Hersaphat. Take care of yourselves and each other.